Musically meditated.
Musically meditated. Musically meditated.
Welcome to Musically Meditated Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Riley, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster.
Gotta keep that going.
I got to. I stole that from MF Doom. Gabe, you know who MF Doom is?
Yeah.
All right, good. We have a special guest with us tonight. We have Gabe Barajas, a.k.a. MC Seizure. What's up, Gabe?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Right on. He is the bassist in Penitentiary, and he is the lead MC in the hip-hop collective, Who's Revolution, right?
Yeah, co-MC.
Co-MC?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This episode is sponsored by Hobart Lumber Company and Ace Hardware. They're at 630 Main Street in Hobart. Their number is 219-945-3031. You could also check them out at www.hobartlumber.com. And they are a family-owned, operated business serving the community since 1915. They've expanded into over 3 different locations and lumber yards, and they specialize in all different types of home improvements, lumber and building materials, hardware, cabinets and flooring. So check out Hobart Lumber, downtown Hobart, and Ace Hardware. So thanks, Hobart Lumber. We have Stratton with us tonight, too. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man? Hold on. Let me wink at the camera.
Okay, there we go. He's winking. How's everything at Green Door?
Good. Busy.
Good.
Got windburn today. Did a little bit of construction outside.
Yeah,
I've been complaining about it since I've been talking to you tonight, both of you guys.
Yeah.
I've just been complaining about it, but it's good. Yeah, it's good. How about you, Joe? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here because, like I said, Gabe's a very versatile guy in a couple different genres. So what we're going to do is we're going to touch on a little bit of Gabe's hip-hop influences and background, his favorite MCs. Also, he is a graffitiist. Is that a term?
Graffiti artist.
Graffiti artist.
Yeah.
He's a graffiti artist. So we're going to touch on that and how it, music influenced him or vice versa. Graffiti influences his music. And then we're also going to talk about Gabe's hardcore and metal influences and background, what bands he's in, what bands he has been in. And we're going to tie all that together too and focus on some skateboarding. He's also a skater. You've been doing it for a while, right?
Yeah, since I was about 11 years old.
Cool. Well, let's just jump right into it, man, into your hip hop background. Who were some of the first like MCs that you started listening to?
I'd say as early as probably 5 years old, 6 years old. I had probably Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Cool.
Did you older cousins and stuff?
Yeah, Bone was huge. I just saw too that they're going to have East 99 Eternal for Record Store Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's pretty sick.
That's like the most influential hip hop album probably in my entire life. It was really big. I think I was in like 6th grade. Stratton, did you like Bone Thugs too?
I just like the songs that were on the radio.
What?
I didn't have a Bone Thugs phase.
No?
I don't know why, because I loved fast rap. I was a Fushnikins guy.
I remember
Do you guys remember them?
Yeah.
It's I think Shaquille O'Neal's favorite band.
It was. Wasn't he a part of them for a second, or was he just
like
on one of their
second album?
singles?
I think they were on his album. One of I don't know how many albums he put out. His albums I did not listen to.
He wasn't a bad rapper, man.
It's
I like how you're sidetracking this with Shaq rap.
I'm not. I just really like the Fushnikins because of this, because they were fast rappers, and I thought Bone Thugs also they did the fast rapping with soul, but I couldn't. I didn't. For some reason didn't get into them. I knew the 2 songs that were "See You at the Crossroads." What was the other one?
Well,
For the Love of Money.
For the Love of Money.
Was it whatever the 2 main most popular ones were?
Yeah. First of the Month,
and even
big.
that First of the Month. Yeah. First of the Month. Those 2, and I like those. They were on the radio all the time, but that's about it.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for this man right here, Mr. Eazy-E, there would be no Bone Thugs. He found him.
Yeah,
he was the founder. But that's cool, Gabe. Yeah, Bone was huge. I think a lot of that had to do too with like the Midwest. I mean, we're Midwest guys. You said, where'd you grow up at again?
East Chicago, Indiana.
East Chicago.
Yeah,
so
in between there and Hammond.
Cool. And I think Bone they were obviously big globally and around the country, but I think they probably hit the Midwest market even harder because they were from here. I mean, Cleveland is pretty damn close and kind of the same thing, man. But I also have here on your list too, as far as your background goes, Wu-Tang. So
Yeah, definitely.
Who's your favorite Wu-Tang artist, man?
Solo, I'd probably say Ghostface.
Okay.
But all of them have, you know what I mean, such an awesome catalog, and even beyond their music, you know what I mean, the producing of movies and anime and all that, it just goes so much beyond music itself. So I really like that culture of just marketing it and everything they enjoy, rather than just, you know what I mean, we're a hip hop collective. It's whatever they like. If it's movies, then they're going to help produce movies. If it's shows, you know what I mean, you had like them influencing Netflix series and stuff, like Luke Cage having music in there, like Ghostface and RZA had a lot to do with that stuff. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
that was all their music, right? For both seasons?
For the most part.
At least it sounded like it.
Yeah, for the most part, I think it was.
The big thing I remember with RZA was Kill Bill. Like, that was huge. Like, he had always done a lot before the whole Kill Bill. Was that a trilogy or whatever? But, you know, when were there just two?
Just the two.
But when he linked up with, whatchamacallit, what's his name? Quentin Tarantino. It's like, oh man, this is badass. Because the RZA in all of music, he's one of my favorite guys to look up to. I mean, even with what we're doing here with Musically Meditated, I mean, maybe it'll go global or something someday. It would be nice. But, you know, I felt like he always had a great business idea, you know, like Wu-Tang's like Voltron, you know, they form like Voltron. You got to have all these different collective pieces, but he's always been a very positive guy. And, I don't know, just his rhymes and just the way he carries himself. He's a great leader, you know, like as a man. So everything that Mr. Robert Diggs has to do or say, I've always really, really looked up to. But as far as Ghostface goes, I do agree with you on a solo tip, especially for like the last 10 years. Like he's been involved in so many projects and he kills it on everything too.
For his newer projects, he definitely blows everybody else out of the water.
He does. He does, man. He kills it. Did you listen to any of the Czarface stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Czarface is awesome.
And Inspector Deck is on that too. And Deck, like I remember he said he was going to like retire, but he kind of didn't. He just retired from maybe just solo shit, but then he's just putting out awesome collaborative work. But how about you, Stratton? Who's your favorite Wu-Tang guy?
Method Man.
Method Man?
I'm lame. Everybody likes Method Man.
Another good actor.
I'm mainstream
at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Fantastic MC.
Yeah, fantastic MC. He doesn't get enough credit as he should. Like they had remember when what's his name from the Roots? What's his name? The main MC. I can't believe I'm drawing.
I don't know any of the
Black
names.
Thought.
Thank you, Black Thought. Did you see his freestyle like a couple years ago? That 10-minute freestyle, it's the best thing I've ever personally witnessed. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, it was great.
But before that, on Funk Flex, he was with Method Man, and they were battling. Now Method Man was reading off his phone, but Meth was doing a great job. And like he, you know, even some of his old freestyles, like he's a heavyweight MC that should get a lot more credit than he does. Like being, you know, it's hard to say who's the greatest of all time, but I would definitely put him in like the top 20 MCs from New York, one of the greatest for sure.
Yeah, I think he's really unique compared to the other ones.
And how'd Wu-Tang enter your life? Was that through like skating culture, your brother?
Skateboarding mostly, yeah.
Yeah, because they were like
watching a lot of older videos, all their beats, all, you know what I mean? A
Right.
bunch of their music was on a bunch of older skate videos. And
cool. Yeah, there was always like a good connection with like New York and skate culture. I don't know what that was, but like remember those old videos that would have
Their
like the fisheye too?
Their music kind of goes really well with the whole philosophy of skateboarding, I would think. Because back when I didn't get into Wu-Tang because I didn't like their sound. I didn't like how we talked about this. You listen to Wu-Tang and it feels the way that you'd think the actual New York is.
yeah.
Not like the nice parts of New York, but what most of New York is: grimy and garbage, but awesome,
Kind of
alive, and
very urban.
all that stuff. And you were given a description about the production that it wasn't like high definition, crisp, whatever. There was just had a griminess to it.
Yeah, good grit.
Yeah,
And the RZA was great at capturing like his weird obsession for kung fu flicks and like the grimy, very analog driven kind of beats, like very minimal beats. And the thing that was cool about Wu-Tang in the 90s, if you look back, I feel like you had like P. Diddy and like Biggie, and they were kind of flossy and glossy, you know, but Wu-Tang was like the one hip hop group from New York that, like Stratton said, they were urban, and, you know, there was just something rigid about them, like very, very street, you know, and it was for them to blow up commercially like they did with this kind of crazy ideology. It was just one of a kind.
Yeah. It was beyond me to like, I didn't wasn't really into it until until Redman and Method Man got together, and then I really liked the stuff they put out.
Gabe, did you really know like what they were rapping about and shit like when you were younger, or did it take a while for you for Wu-Tang?
Yeah, not necessarily when I was younger, just because I was, 11, 12 years old, and then probably teenage years I kind of got it. But you know what I mean? It always stuck with me. I always enjoyed their beats, and the skateboarding videos that it was in were, very grimy street videos of skating in alleys and
Before
over
the days of the
barriers and
iPhone.
getting kicked out by cops and running away. And you know what I mean? That inspired me because living in Chicago, we have the same style spots. Nothing's perfectly smooth like California. You know what I mean? Everybody kind of looked like me that was skating. They were minorities. And,
Okay.
I think that's why I kind of
were
dug it
drawn
a lot.
to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always like the old the fisheye, like the fisheye camera.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do they still do that shit?
Yeah, they do.
Cool.
There's, all different kinds now, too.
Speaking of grime, we'll move on next to Mr. Big L. I've talked about him quite a few times on this show. I don't know, Gabe. Where were you at and who were you with the first time you listened to Big L?
I'm not even sure. I'm thinking probably middle or high school, too, and probably from a skate video and kind of heard it and was just kind of blown away. And I'd say towards the end of middle school, beginning of high school, 9th, 10th grade was kind of where I started listening to more underground rap. 6th grade, I probably listened to, a lot of A$AP Rock and stuff because my friends listened to them. But I'd say high school, I listened to some more grittier stuff like Big L and stuff just because the delivery and punchlines were just like blowing me away. At that point, I kind of understood like the complexity of them, and that's where I was like, whoa.
This dude's a genius.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Lord Finesse was I know Lord Finesse kind of brought him in under his wing.
Yeah.
And Lord Finesse was like the best punchline rapper before Big L. But then like L came into the scene, like with Digging in the Crates crew.
Yep.
And I felt like he kind of took the throne from Lord Finesse. Nothing against him, but
yeah,
he was doing like crazy, like I like to call it like machine gun like spitting, like he could flip up different types, right?
Yeah,
like different types of styles.
Just double time to just straight flow into whatever.
Are there any MCs that you like try, like that you learn from for yourself when you spit? Like not like you're trying to mimic, but like are there any?
I'd say Big L's one of them. Idea, just kind of a mix of everything,
Okay.
Nothing ridiculously gritty and nothing, you know what I mean, too nerdy like Sage Francis, but like right in between both of them. So like, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to be either, but I'm influenced by both, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was always kind of blown away with Mac Miller. He passed away last year, so rest in peace. But he was always a huge Big L fan.
Yeah.
Like I'd watch interviews with him. I'm like, all right, cool, dude. Like didn't see that coming just for whatever reason, but it was cool that he paid homage to him. My Big L story, I think I remember like when he was murdered, and I was reading about it in whatever magazine it was back then. But then I bought a few of his CDs, but then I was really blown away with the Napster shit, the Napster days. And that's when I heard Devil's Son for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, that's like a scary rap song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really brutal. I don't know. So I would say let's end this episode with Devil's Son, but no, we're going to do some of Gabe's projects. But anybody listening, check out Devil's Son. Let me know what you think. You too, Stratton.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even Nas, we'll move right into Nas. Nas was scared because they used that sample when I was 12. I went to hell for snuffing Jesus.
Yeah, yeah.
That's from Nas.
Yep.
And Nas said, he's like, when I wrote that particular line, he's like, I was pushing the envelope. He's like, but then I heard Big L's Devil's Son. He's like, oh, man, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
What about Nas, man? Like, what's your favorite Nas record?
That's a hard one,
Yeah.
Every CD has those songs that just stick out to you, whether it's The Message or It Ain't Hard to Tell, you know what I mean? All of the songs across even his latest records,
that one
are
was
amazing.
Yeah.
Stay is one of my favorite songs, and it came out 4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Illmatic,
Stillmatic. I'm kind of like an old head when it comes to that. Illmatic's probably one of the best hip hop albums of all time.
And it has the best production out of all of them.
And that was Pete Rock? Did he do that?
A little bit of everyone. Q-Tip did some of them.
Q-Tip
Pete Rock did some of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was all over the place.
Yeah, man. Nas, Stratton, whatever happened to your Nas connection? Remember, we were going to try to get that Nas interview. It was you got to help us out with that, Gabe. You're from Hammond EC area. Remember, like it was when
everybody ignored me.
Everybody ignored. We
when
tried
he was coming into town.
Yeah, when he came into
year.
town. But I had to have a knee surgery done anyway, so I don't think like literally on the day that he was here.
Yeah,
so
I had a what do you say, a 2-degree connection. So if the one person would have answered, then the other, like it would have happened. So it was 2 degrees of separation, but they weren't answering me.
I'd be pretty nervous. I'd like kind of fanboy, but he was pretty rough on Nardwuar. You ever watch any Nardwuar interviews?
Yeah, a little bit.
He was kind of hard on Nardwuar. You could tell, like, if you're going to interview Nas, you better have your shit together. I mean, just with anyone, really, when they're famous, but you better really come prepared.
Some people are easier than others. If he's hard to interview, then, whatever.
Whatever. But yeah, man, Nas is one of the best. I think with Nas, if he had, this is just my opinion, if he had a little bit more of like a harder work ethic, I think he could have maybe, I don't know, climbed to the pop charts a little bit more in comparison to Jay-Z, because I felt like he murdered Jay-Z when there was the beef, with Ether. I thought like he put it into that, but something about Jay, I don't know what it was, if it was just business venture.
Yeah, I think so.
Or just, I don't know, it's just work ethics, man.
Yeah.
Oh, let me get this out of the way.
Okay.
Nas, Jay-Z, open door policy here at the Green Door.
Yeah, we want both of you.
You want to come in and talk to us? Yeah.
And Beyonce's welcome.
Oh yeah, you too, Beyonce.
We could use that Jay-Z bump.
Yeah.
And here's something like to move into, like, speaking of Jay-Z, what do you feel about J. Cole? Because J. Cole's one of his guys. I don't know if you knew that. Do you think J. Cole's overrated? Do you think he's good? Are you a fan? You really listen to him?
I don't listen to him too much. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as great as some people make him out to be. But I understand why people relate to him and listen to his music a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like he could kind of hit on the backpack rap a little bit.
Yeah.
Socially conscious stuff, kind of like a Kendrick, but
yeah,
maybe a little bit more appealing to, I don't want to say hipster crowd, but kind of.
I'd say like younger crowd.
Younger crowd?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say he's easier to listen to, and he isn't that complex. So same thing with Kendrick. Kendrick wasn't ridiculously complex. A lot of his, ideas and, music concepts are pretty straightforward. Yeah.
How do you feel about the state of hip hop now? Like, we're talking about some of these older influences you have. Like, what do you think now? Like, you think it's going in a great direction?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I think it's so accessible for everybody that nobody has an excuse to listen to bad rappers or bad MCs,
Yeah.
There's so much good music out there, even locally. You know what I mean? You can go to a local hip hop show and listen to the dudes who are blowing people away because of how great they could spit, in Chicago, Indiana, wherever.
Yeah, we need help with that here because I'm a huge hip hop head, but locally or like Chicago wise, I really don't know where to start. So are there any artists like that you could think of off the top of your head that you'd like to shout out that we should check out?
Yeah. I mean, when I first started rapping out this way, there was a group, Lake Effect, which has Wooden Chains, Dead Mics, Shake C, and Big Pipe, who's now in a hip hop band called South Shore Standard. And those dudes rip it in their own unique way. They're from LaPorte, South Bend area, and they've just got such a unique style for being out that way. You don't think you'd go out that way and find some incredible MCs, and you do. And we used to have a venue at a skate shop called Royal Skate Shop, and the back of it was a venue, and you'd find all kind of amazing artists out there just rapping their hearts away. That's actually where I found my co-MC. My first show there was his first show there, and we linked up and we meshed and kept working together.
Yeah, let's get into your your hip hop collective. So like, who's all behind that? I know you said you're the MC and there's somebody else. Like, is there a producer? Like, what's up with the whole crew? Yeah,
definitely. So it's me, Jen Ops, who does both production and MC, co-MC, and then DJ Eyes Wide Shut, who's a DJ. And then sometimes we also get guest DJs and stuff to come in and do some stuff on the newest EP we'll be releasing. DJ Aloe from Chicago's on it. We've done shows with DJ Quick Mix Mike, who's won competitions and stuff, and he's awesome and from out here as well. But yeah, we've been working hard at it, and we should be releasing some new music soon. We got an EP that's actually dedicated to the 5 elements of hip hop. The 5th being knowledge, the 4 being, MCing, b-boying, DJing and graffiti. So
cool, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. When do you think that's going to come out?
Should be out this summer.
This summer?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, link us up with that and we'll promote it and put it out there as much as possible.
Yeah.
And if you guys like, Sweatin and I have talked about that. Like we've wanted to do like a hip hop themed show, like a live setting somehow, some way. Like, so whatever you guys would have in mind, maybe we could do something at the bookstore, right?
Yeah,
or in the
cool.
studio.
Yeah, we've been looking where to do it. The thing at the bookstore is small.
Yeah.
But there's other places we could possibly do it. Just depends on how many people we can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It doesn't have to be necessarily here in Hobart, but there's other people we could hit up. But just to kind of get the hip hop culture out this way, and just so I can learn more about local, like, I'm glad you're telling me about this, but like Chicago and region artists, man, because it's like you said, there's a lot of hip hop out there, but a lot of people don't know where to search.
Yeah, definitely. Chicago's, you know what I mean, has so many different scenes. It's insane,
Okay.
Whether it's the South Side scene with a little bit of trap, a little bit of underground hip hop like Mick Jenkins, or
I love Mick Jenkins.
Go up north and you got, you know what I mean? My buddy Novatar always has shows up north, which is a little bit more like Jedi Mind Trick style hip hop, which is more hardcore hip hop.
I know Jedi. Yeah, Violent by Design, man. That's very intense record. That thing's 20 years old this year too, I believe.
Yeah.
That record, it came out in 99.
That's wild.
I always like Just Allah. He's like my favorite. I love Vinny Paz, but Just Allah is like my dude. He's like very militant and very extreme. I don't think he's a part of them anymore, but
no, he's not, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He still does a little bit of music, I think, though.
Does he?
Yeah.
Because I remember he was trying to put out that MMA, like Meanest Man Alive, and there was like one single that dropped, but then he kind of just like fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah. He actually did a show with my buddy Novatar in the city not too long ago.
No shit.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Shout out to Just Allah. Like, that's really cool info. Did you like the Last Jedi album?
Yeah, I liked it.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
I don't think it was timeless, but it was great material.
Yeah, their production's getting better and better as far as just squeaky clean, because they kind of had that Wu-Tang aesthetic, right? A little bit grimy.
Which I think I liked more.
Me too.
I think I felt more natural for them.
Yeah.
Being from Philly.
Yeah. Visions of Gandhi was a good one. And what's the other one with the guy on fire? Is that Visions of Gandhi?
Yeah. And then there's like the Violence Begets Violence. The last one with Just Allah.
Yeah, that was good.
That one was really good.
That was really good. That came out like what, maybe like 10 years ago now, or
maybe 8.
8 years ago? That was really good. Yeah, that was the last one Just was on. And then Stoop's still the producer, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. I think him, and then I think C. Lance does a little bit with him, but I don't know if that's only for Vinny Paz's solo stuff. But
yeah, Vinny's he's a bad dude, man.
Yeah,
he's he kind of has that guttural heavy metal vibe to him too, ain't it? Like,
yeah,
he kind of blends it well, and they brought Ill Bill on before, and also Mr. Immortal Technique. I'm a huge fan. And I did see him years ago, probably about 10 years ago at the Abbey Pub. Have you ever got to see him live?
Yeah, I have. I've seen him at the, I want to say the Metro. Possibly.
Metro?
Yeah, Metro, yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah.
I've seen him there maybe about the same time, maybe 8 years ago,
okay.
9 years ago.
When's the Middle Passage ever going to come out, man? Like, what is he up to? Do you know what he's up to?
No clue. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I even follow him on Instagram, and his posts aren't, you know what I mean? I think he talks about creating new music, and
yeah, he's just such a political mastermind is the best way I guess I could describe him.
Yeah.
Like the last thing I remember that he was doing that I remembered was he was going to orphanages in Palestine.
Yeah.
Remember, like he had his own fundraiser, or don't quote me, I think there was a documentary on that, but
yeah,
he
it was a nonprofit.
Was it a nonprofit?
Assisting with all kind of stuff out there.
Yeah, which was really amazing. And yeah, I just wish Technique would come out with something. You would think like now would be the perfect time with all the Trump stuff. I'll just leave it at that. You would think Technique would just come out blazing.
That's what he's gonna do. Nobody knows.
Yeah, just drop
Sometimes it's better to do it that way than, you know what I mean? Promote. People have been waiting it for so long. He doesn't need to necessarily market it.
True.
When he drops it, everyone will listen to it. So
yeah. How about the Puerto Rican superhero Chino XL?
Yeah, I love Chino too.
All right, cool. Yeah, he's one of my favorite freestylists. Like even like back in the day, like on Sway and Tech, and
yeah, he's incredible.
He's incredible, man.
Yeah.
You ever listen to Chino XL?
Nope.
Okay, you should.
Yeah,
I will. I got a lot of homework after this one.
That's how I actually got into Immortal Technique. It was, I don't know what was Revolutionary Volume 2.
Yeah.
It was maybe like a year or so after that came out, and it was just like right when Apple iTunes dropped. Don't quote me on that year, but there was like other artists, you know, like similar artists. I'm like, who's Immortal Technique? Because that album cover got my attention for sure, you know, and I was like, damn. And then I listened to him, and I think it was Industrial Revolution, that track. I was like, this
awesome
dude's
track.
the shit, man.
Yeah.
You know, and then I went into Revolutionary Volume 1 and Dance with the Devil. Like, I would have certain friends, like just hip hop friends, be like, hey, nobody talk, listen to this. And everybody's just like, and I remember one time I picked it at the bar and somebody walked in. I don't know why, you know, but picked it on iTunes or, you know, that shit. And somebody walked in and was like, somebody pick Immortal Technique, Dance with the Devil. I'm like, I did. Like, raise my hand. The guy's like, dude, this is heavy subject matter. I'm like, yes, it is. Don't talk to me. I'm drinking. But, yeah, man, that's cool. I like to go off on this, but back to Chicago. I'll reel back into Chicago.
Yeah.
Typical Cats and Quell.
Yeah.
Now, did that have a huge influence too, like as far as skating culture, or how they enter?
Graffiti culture more so. Yeah. When I first heard that song, Manhattan Projects, it was so cool knowing, you know what I mean? Something so huge in the graffiti scene was right in my backyard, you know, Chicago itself. And everything he talks about in that song is so coded that the normal person can't understand it. And you kind of decipher it as a graffiti writer, and it's just, it blows you away.
It is an amazing, amazing song. And the best way I could describe Typical Cats, I don't know if you agree with this, Gabe, but it's kind of like Chicago's Wu-Tang in a way.
Yeah, I'd say even more culturally diverse in a crazier way. You know what I mean? You've got an Asian, you've got an African American, you got a white guy, and they just combine their styles together, and it's incredible, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone has a different approach to the way they spit over the beats, and it's awesome.
It is awesome. And Quell too, the I forget which Quell song it is, you know, on the first Typical Cats album, but you know, like it's just kind of like a jazzy loop and a piano loop, remember? And he just spits. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, he could spit. I guess he lives here in Hobart, I was told.
Yeah, I think does he live back in Indiana?
That's what I was told. Yeah. So shout out to Quell if you want to come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You know, that'd be
definitely.
great.
He's probably one of the best to ever do it in Chicago for sure. I mean,
you think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's even battled Idea. He didn't win, but
did he battle him?
Yeah, he didn't win, but
okay.
Yeah.
How about some of the battle rap stuff? Are you into that whole scene as well?
Yeah. Okay. I think Juice from Chicago, hands down, is my favorite for freestyle
right now.
I mean, he doesn't do too much stuff currently, but as far as freestyle, he beat Eminem at the Scribble Jam.
Oh, did he?
Like 97, maybe. Yeah, he's known as the greatest.
Didn't Chino XL beat M back then too? Or there was a rumor of that. I don't know how true that is.
Maybe. I'm not sure on that one. I think Juice is the only one to beat him. Maybe Supernatural as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mac Miller was always good at that too. Back in the day, I remember Mac and who's the dude from Pittsburgh? I can't think. He was a white dude. I can't think right now. My bad. And Dirtbag Dan, I always liked him because he had like a different approach. But that's like a whole nother.
Yeah, it's a subgenre pretty much. Battle rap for King of the Dot and, you know what I mean, the old Scribble Jam battles.
Yeah. And that shit doesn't always necessarily transwell like those rappers into studio records, you know? Like
not
sometimes
necessarily.
Yeah, it doesn't always like really link up very well. But as far as you know, graffiti goes, Gabe, how did that enter your life? And, you know, did hip hop influence you into, you know, like to do graffiti work?
Yeah. You know, it's actually funny because the person who kind of brought me under their wing was a crust punk, you know, from Mexico. He's an immigrant. He was living in Chicago, and me and him got super close, and he knew I liked, you know what I mean, a little bit of metal, a little bit of hip hop, which is what he grew up on, and he just would spray paint all the time, and he was like, man, you should just try it one day. And I was like, well, I have a bunch of friends who already do it, and he's the kind of one who kind of pushed me, you know what I mean? All my other friends were just like, yeah, you know what I mean, I'm going to go painting, or they had their grip tape all decked out with their tags, you know, stuff like that. But he was the kind of one to kind of push me, so that was awesome.
Cool. And like you mentioned, there's like the 5 different elements of hip hop that you guys want to kind of like play off of, right, with your group. What significant role does graffiti play in hip hop? Because like I always knew it was there. Now, granted, I've never done any graffiti or grew up in any kind of urban setting. So like, what's the history behind that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of discussion as to whether it's even a part of hip hop itself, because technically it's its own art form in general. A lot of people who started doing graffiti in New York in the early 70s, you know what I mean, were listening to Black Sabbath and stuff, even they weren't listening to hip hop. But
really,
it kind of grew with the hip hop culture, which is why hip hop kind of embodied it as its own, because it represented that freedom, you know what I mean, that a lot of the kids in Brooklyn and the Bronx and stuff didn't have, besides breaking in, you know what I mean, the parks or doing graph on the walls, because it was their expression. So it kind of like ran with it to the point of where it became a part of hip hop. But you know what I mean? And a lot of people will argue the opposite and say it's its own separate thing. It's, you know what I mean? It's bigger than hip hop in a way, because it has nothing to do with music. But to us, you know what I mean, grow up in poor neighborhoods and seeing it, and you know what I mean, just being crazily impressed by it is, I think it kind of stuck with us to the point of where we dedicated ourselves to hip hop and consider that a piece of it, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Awesome. Because wouldn't you say like the three main elements of hip hop would be graffiti, b-boying, which is break dancing, and would you say DJing or MCing? Those are kind of together, or maybe is it? I mean, DJing? I
think it'd be all of them together.
Okay.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, DJing definitely came first before all of them, as far as hip hop culture goes, and then you know what I mean. From there, people started dancing, and then from there, people started rapping over it in front of the dancers, and then the people dancing and MCing ended up also being graffiti writers, which is why it ended up tying together all together. But
yeah,
I'd say you can't have one of them without the other.
Right.
I mean, you could probably have someone MCing and DJing without breaking or graffiti, but it wouldn't have served its purpose, I guess you can say, back then in the 70s, 80s, as it would have with it included. Yeah,
like those three forces or elements, I think, was huge in growing hip hop, you know, like
that's what
artistically,
really.
You know, like you could express yourself those three ways, and it's pretty amazing. And it's kind of crazy to think too now, like hip hop is in every form of pop culture. Like it's taken over all music, you know, like it's just everywhere. Like I don't really think, I mean, I even remember like growing up, like my dad's like, oh, it's going to die out like disco, like when I was real little. And it's like, nah, not at all. Like it is
not if I have anything to say about it, Dad.
Yeah, Dad, you know, but it's like, no, it didn't, you know, like my dad, he'll listen to, you know, like early Eazy-E and NWA. He enjoys it. But yeah, they were really wrong back then.
Yeah.
Cause it is like totally, it's taken over everything. It's in everything.
Yeah.
But, yeah, as far as, what was the one? Do you have any like graffiti artists that you look up to, or a style? Is there like different certain styles?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can say, community has its style, and then bigger than that, every state has its style, every region has its style, and then every state has its style, every city on a different country has its style, really, you know what I mean? Germany has its own 3D style it came out with in the 90s, 2000s, you know. Russia has its different style of flared out wild style. You know what I mean? United States is more classic train letters that you would see in the Bronx and stuff on the trains.
Okay.
California has its own wild style, which is more like skinny letters, less legible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, here in the Midwest, we've got incredible influences since we're in between California and New York, you know.
So you kind of combine both? Is there a little bit of that going on?
Yeah. I mean, the originators of Out This Way definitely combined both, you know. They took those legible train letters that you saw in New York riding across the subway trains and kind of added some flair to them, some extensions, some arrows, and it's amazing, you know.
Cool.
How developed it came.
Yeah, I always like sitting at a train stop. That's where I always saw the best, you know, waiting on a train, the best graffiti. Because I think like here regionally too, a lot of those trains are sitting near the steel mills. And a lot of these trains are hauling something from mill to mill. So, you know, it's going through the whole region nonstop.
Boyan's father-in-law does train maintenance. And he actually has, his phone is filled, not with he's got pictures of family, but the other thing that he's got a ton of is just train graffiti.
Awesome.
He's got like, every time we have like a family get together, he's like, you got to see what my new batch is. And he just flips through and it's just all different styles. All these cards that have been like all over the country, and so it's different styles.
That's
And
awesome.
it's really cool. All those pictures are really cool.
And as far as like a graffiti tag name, does the artist come up with that himself, or does somebody give you that nickname? Is it like giving yourself a nickname, or how does that come about?
It's different for everybody. Some people pick letters that are extremely easy to paint at first and kind of develop it from there. Some people write their nickname. Some people write their real name even,
Okay.
Just depends.
Depends
how they want to do it, I guess,
Who was, remember Zach De La Roca, or Rocha, however you want to say it, came out with that, remember that solo album, One Day as a Lion?
Yeah.
A few years ago. And the saying was, I don't know what graffiti artist it was, but he said, it's better to live one day as a lion than 1,000 years as a lamb. That's where they got the name for that group from.
One Day as a Lion. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Do you know who that artist was? Like, he was one of the first Brooklyn graffiti artists or something. So somebody helped me out and fact check that. But I always thought that was a cool saying.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
that's what he would always, tag up, or he would just tag up One Day as a Lion. And that's a cool album, man. It's Zach doing his raps, and then he's playing like this old, remember, like analog,
like a keyboard that sounds like a guitar.
Yeah, it kind of sounded
tuned.
like Tom Morello's shit. But and then the drummer was from Dillinger Escape Plan. So everybody go back and check that out. It was like a 4-track little EP. Remember that? But cool, man. Thanks for dropping some knowledge there about graffiti life. Let's move into like hardcore, and like you said, you bumped into a dude from Mexico that liked crust punk that actually taught you graffiti. So as far as your background goes, like when I think of hardcore, I think of some older stuff like Black Flag, Minor Threat, Cro-Mags, Agnostic Front. But then me being like a 90s kid, Earth Crisis was like the first thing I ever heard that I thought was hardcore. Now that's got some metallic blends in it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was the first time I ever really heard of straight edge culture and veganism and pro, what would you say they were, like pro animal liberation?
Yeah, definitely.
They were definitely concerned about the globe too, right? Like
yeah.
But you yourself are straight edge.
Yep.
So how did the whole straight edge lifestyle come into effect for you?
I'd just say at an early age, I just kind of wasn't really into it, I was into skating and doing other stuff, and I found a lot of other friends, or friends of friends, overdosing at young ages and getting into trouble, and I don't mean smoking weed and stuff. I mean like
heroin and
exactly.
Heroin.
Yeah.
Keep it real. Heroin.
Yeah. So I kind of just strayed away and just kept at it. It wasn't really worth my time. And as I got older, I just found more and more people wasting their money on stupid stuff like that. And I just was like, well, why even start now
That's amazing.
If I haven't started as a younger person? Why would I want to throw my money away on that? I mean, there's times, it's all right.
Right.
People can smoke, drink, have a good time. That's no problem. It's just the extremity that it can get to if you don't have that tolerance, I guess you can say. Yeah. And a lot of people don't, and I guess I'll never know if I do or not. So
good, man.
Yeah.
That's some powerful shit. Like, you've never had a drink ever?
You know what I mean? Like, as a youngin', 13 years old, a sip of wine or beer and stuff, but nothing heavy like that.
Yeah.
So
like nothing you can clearly remember like ever being intoxicated in any way?
No, not at all.
That's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah.
How about like was there like a straight edge scene like in EC or Hammond or Chicago too growing up, like with the hardcore bands?
Yeah, I'd say there was, but it wasn't very prominent as it was in the 90s for a lot of kids. People weren't Xing up at shows and stuff.
Did you ever X up or anything?
Not really, you
Right
know.
on.
We
Okay.
just went to shows and had fun, whether somebody drank or didn't drink. Everybody was moshing and hurting each other and jumping off the stage, and it was just a wild time, fun time.
Because in the 90s, they'd beat your ass when you got in the pit. They didn't
Oh,
mess
yeah.
around, So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they still do that, but it was like, oh, that's a straight edge
Yeah.
dude,
I mean, growing up
Beat
in
the
East
shit out of
Chicago,
you.
it's a little bit more hood, so you know what I mean? It's kind of accepted okay to drink and smoke and do stuff like that. So even if you were straight edge, you weren't going to do anything because everybody was friends,
Right.
It's
Right. I'm not saying like they'd literally beat, but they'd throw down,
Oh,
they were
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
there was never any fights or anything, but it's like you knew if
in
it
New
was a
York
straight
there
edge.
was definitely.
Was
I mean,
there?
there was straight edge gangs and stuff that would slap your beer bottle out of your hand and beat you up if you were being
Right.
disrespectful in any way.
FSU, ain't it? Isn't that what they called themselves?
There
Was
was a
that-
few different ones all over.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was more of the mainstream one.
Okay, cool. But yeah, VOD was another big one for me too. Do you remember VOD, Vision of Disorder?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
They kind of had a little bit of rap in there too, like with the way that Tim Williams like would scream and kind of have like a flow to it. And that's what I noticed with a little bit of your list here too. Like you have Irate, and they're a New York hardcore group. And I feel like a touch of hip hop in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, they're just from New York and the gritty Bronx, and you know what I mean, Central Park, and growing up in that era, it's kind of cool because they have that hip hop vibe to them, street vibe to them, but they still listen to metal, which is kind of like probably why they're my favorite band, just because I kind of find similarities in myself to them, just because, you know, I'm not the Metallica looking guy with the leather vest on and the patches and stuff. That was never me, and that would never be me. But when I saw them playing live and they were doing, you know what I mean, arpeggio sweeps and all this stuff that classic death metal bands would do, but with breakdowns, but they looked like me with nice sneakers on and, you know what I mean, fitted hats. I was like, wow, this is awesome. This kind of represents me in a way, and
cool.
Kind of took a liking to that.
Yeah, it's neat how you can blend all the different genres, and then, you know, fashion wise or however you want to express yourself too. You know, that New York always kind of had that I don't know, I don't want to say look, but you know what I mean, a little bit
style,
a little bit more of an NY style. Like Glassjaw was one of the first bands that I listened to, kind of like a post-hardcore deal. But I remember Justin Beck, the guitarist, like he always had that kind of New York vibe, you know, like wearing Timberlands, a little bit baggier clothes, straight bill hat, you know, like, okay, very cool. But Irate, how long have they been around? Like, I remember hearing of them before, but have you been jamming them for a minute?
I mean, not since they started, of course, you know what I mean? I want to say they probably started in 95, 97, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And I probably got into them probably early high school, once I started digging into more underground hardcore. When I was in middle school, I didn't know really the difference between new metal, hardcore, death metal. It just was all hardcore metal to me, whether it was Mushroom Head, Slipknot, Hatebreed, you know what I mean, Death. It all sounded the same to me because I couldn't really describe what the differences between each of those bands were.
Yeah. And we could split hairs and say this particular genre, but we're just kind of going through it. You know, Converge is my favorite hardcore band of all time.
Nice.
You know, now they have all different, they're kind of more metalcore, but like I said, we could sit here and talk about the different genres and what it is. But Converge was the one that kind of put it all together for me personally. And like, they've influenced me in a lot of different ways in the way I live my life now. You know, like Jane Doe was a very, very huge record for me.
Gotcha.
And, you know, I kind of like how they put it all together and blending the different genres too, you know, like hardcore, metalcore, grind, so on and so forth. But another one you have on here too that has kind of that hip hop street vibe is E-Town Concrete. And I remember them too.
Yeah.
Like back in the day. Have you ever played with these dudes like Irate or E-Town Concrete?
No.
Okay.
Irate hasn't played shows in a few years.
Okay.
E-Town plays one show a year in New Jersey and they book it themselves. So it'd be pretty hard to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be that lucky band that they book. They usually book, you know what I mean, their friends' bands that they grew up with, Candiria or...
Candiria, wow. Yeah, dude, Carly Coma.
Like
Yeah, I used to love Candiria back in the day. They used to like play with Cryptopsy and shit. Like, and I saw them like at a Cryptopsy show. Like, I think we talked about that, Matt Abear and I. They were like, there was a time and they were trying to blend the hardcore with the death metal, and there weren't any problems, but like the death metal kids would go and smoke cigarettes when the hardcore shit played, like at Fireside, you know, in Chicago. Like they tried to do it, but it didn't really work, but there weren't any problems, you know?
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think it works better now. I think now that people are more accepting of the different cultures, whether people are push moshing or circle pitting or throwing down or jumping off the stage on top of each other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They know where to stand and what to expect when the next band goes on, as opposed to probably in the 2000s where
there was some shit like
fighting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like what is this? Like this guy's throwing down. Like I remember going to my first hardcore show was probably Dillinger Escape Plan.
Yeah.
And I've shared the story, so I don't mean to like keep going back, but I got like punched and I was like, what is going on? You know? Like, I'm just trying to do a circle pit and I just got smacked, you know? So it was a little bit of there was a lot of
culture shock.
Culture shock for sure. For sure. And then All Out War you have on here too, and they kind of have the same vibe, but they've switched their sound up as well, ain't it, throughout the years?
Yeah, I'd say they went more metal over the years, but still classic New York hardcore inspiration on most of the records.
Okay.
Yeah, big influence right there too. Them and Sworn Enemy.
Okay. And with your group Penitentiary, like, do you guys, I know this, like, did you guys sit down and say, hey, like, we all like this particular band? Or did, you know, like, you guys all on the same page?
Yeah. I mean, we all listen to so many different genres. It's kind of hard to kind of sit there and kind of nitpick what we should sound like. The guitarist Jake, he was in a band called Blood and Blood Out from Indiana that did fairly well and traveled a lot, and you know what I mean, released 2 amazing records and 1 great EP. And he's been playing guitar for years with the drummer. Actually, they were in a band when they were in their teens, right now in their mid-30s. So they know each other's style very well. And then I started playing bass with our guitarist when we were 12 or 13 years old. So me and him mesh very well, and those 2 mesh very well. So when we all come together, you know what I mean, it's a pretty good mixture since we're so used to playing with at least one of those people for 15 years. So.
Yeah, it sounds really good. What was the single that you shared with me? Off your something newer.
We just released a full length. So,
full length.
Yeah.
Okay, you sent. We're gonna play it. We're gonna play a song by Penitentiary, and we're gonna do from Who's Revolution at the end of this episode. So everybody check it out. We'll share links in there too. But what I liked about the Penitentiary track that you sent me, cool breakdowns, but not like over the top, and really good guitar playing. You know, and the vocals were perfect too. Like it was some good. I don't know, like slam. I don't want to say slamcore. I don't know.
It's just metallic hardcore. We try to really just mix in what we love to play, which is just fast metal, but with a little bit of breakdowns, a little bit of, you know what I mean?
Cool.
Everything.
Yeah, man. Good shit. And bass wise, you said you're a bassist. What kind of bass do you have? Like, what's your gear rundown?
I got 2 Spectre basses, a 5-string and a 4-string.
Okay.
Spectre probably will stick with them for a lifetime.
That's a good one to stick with.
Yeah.
That's some quality bass.
Yeah.
Man. Alex Webster moved to them from Cannibal Corpse because I remember he always had a modulus.
Yep.
And I always liked modulus because Alex had it. Like, he's one of my favorite bass players of all time.
He's incredible.
Like him and Cliff Burton.
Yeah.
But Alex, he's an amazing bassist. But I remember he always had modulus, and then he went to that Spectre. And it's just a badass. He's just a bad dude.
Definitely.
What do you tune your 5-string? Like, what do you guys tune into?
Both are just D standard.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What about your rig? What do you have as far as amp and cabinet wise?
Cabs, I just got an assortment, you know what I mean? Depending on the show. For head, I use a TC Electronic.
Okay.
Which is pretty sick. I used to use hard keys and a lot older style, very heavy amps, and I got sick of lugging them around, and I bought this TC Electronic, which is super compact. It fits in a small backpack, and I can just bring it around everywhere. It's got a built-in tuner in it and stuff, so I don't even have to buy a tuner separate.
Oh, sweet.
And it's got amazing tone quality, and you know what I mean? You can shape it however you want. Awesome. And then I just use a dark glass pedal to kind of boost it up a little bit.
Dark glass is good. That's a good pedal, man. Very good pedal.
I want to say it's the Microtubes Dark Glass, which is
sick. Yeah, it's got like the blue light and like lights up, right? Yeah. It has a lot of different knobs. Yeah, that's
really good. Yeah.
I saw that like on Instagram. I've been following them for forever, but they do a really great job of, from what I could hear, I don't own one, but capturing the low end and the mid, you know, especially if you go a little bit distorted, so it will still cut through, so you can hear it, right?
I'd say it cuts through the mix better than any other pedal out there, even better than Sans Amp, which is what the, you know what I mean, standard bass pedal was for 10 years.
Forever.
Yeah, 15 years.
I have a orange Tiny Terror bass head.
Nice.
And then I got a 4x10, you know, half cab.
Nice.
I think it's like 600 watts. But orange is cool. Like, I'd like a little bit more low end, so I might get a 15 or something. But orange also came out with like a 212 deal. You know, like you said, it's a little bit smaller.
Yeah, easier to carry around.
Easy to carry. But I'm happy with it. You know, orange is cool. Really, really cool stuff. Moving on to death metal, or just metal in general. Going through your list here too, I see Death. So they're a pretty big influence on you.
Yeah, definitely. In the melodic world, you know what I mean. Especially their later stuff. It's just incredible.
Okay, and Chuck as well, right? I mean,
he just shreds.
Right. What's your favorite album by them?
I'd probably say The Sound of Perseverance.
Okay.
Yeah, by far, just because of how melodic it is. I was talking to my guitarist about it the other day, and he just said, you know what I mean? I like Human better because of how each song is so different. He's like, Sound of Perseverance just sounds like one long song, and I think that's why I like it, because just sounds like they're riffing
the whole damn
they
album.
just don't stop.
It's like
kind of like that.
Yeah, like a show off, you know, like they just go. Spiritual Healing.
Yeah,
that's probably my favorite. I don't know if it's just the album.
It's a lot heavier.
Yeah,
than
it's
the
just
others.
Definitely heavy.
And Leprosy.
Yeah, Leprosy. It's all good. Yeah. Chuck was hard for me to get into when I was younger. His vocals. Yeah, but as I got older, I appreciate it way more.
Yeah,
you know, because musically, like it's badass. You also have Necrophagus on here. How about the bass with Necrophagus?
Yeah, one of the best, I'd say.
Ain't it?
I mean, most of those newer tech death bands that emulate him, I mean, they do an amazing job too, but everything about Necrophagus is just incredible.
It is.
Muhammad's sweeps are insane and
German. They're German, right?
Yeah.
They still putting out new material?
They were supposed to, and I don't think it ever came out.
Okay.
They pulled an Immortal Technique.
They pulled They pulled the technique like, hey, we're gonna do something, but nah, we're German, and I don't know why that would matter, but maybe it's just harder to do there.
Which is crazy because of how good of you know what I mean, musicians they are. To not make more music is just insane to me.
It is. I just like how they have a lot of the stop and goes, you know, like just the different chord structures and the trim picking, and then same with the bass and the drums. Like they're just on their own playing field, man. Like
they are.
They're it's technical death metal, ain't it?
Yeah.
At its finest.
I'd say so, yeah.
And now we'll move on to Suffocation. I'm glad you had these guys on your list because it's like I feel like I never give them their just due. Yeah. And they're definitely like the four horsemen of death metal for me, especially 90s. But like Terrence, as far as a guitarist, he's just a badass dude.
Yeah. And I think it's awesome the way, you know what I mean? A lot of people would wait for Suffocation. I'm probably thinking in the 90s, and they see some African Americans get on stage like, what's going on? And then they start shredding.
Yeah, and he just shred. Yeah. Like to have
that'd be awesome to be at one of those shows in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Some of the people's faces, you know, like what?
Couple black dudes? Yeah, because wasn't what was the drummer's name? Is it something Smith? He was a black dude too. Yep. Like you just didn't see that. Back then, they were from the New York scene, so
they were from Brooklyn as well. From Brooklyn, I believe,
and like Malignancy was a big New Yorker too back then. Yeah, but I did watch an interview about like with Suffocation, and they were talking about like the difference between the '90s scene and now, and they were just like, man, that '90s scene. He's like, it was just something. Yeah, there was something
so culturally
special.
Diverse and musically diverse. The way they were just influencing each other, you know what I mean? Right. You have so many bands that sound like each other during that time, but have their niche, you know what I mean? Like Dying Fetus has their slams, right? Internal Bleeding has their stomp parts, and Suffocation has their more shredding parts. So it's cool. Yeah.
And then there was a part, and I don't remember what song it is, but I watched this online, and I don't remember what guy was talking about it either, but Effigy of the Forgotten has a track where they finally like. They were the first death metal band to slow it down and do a slam part. Yeah. And then like from there, you know, it slam became its own kind of like subgenre. Like Dying Fetus has their slam parts, but like even like Devourment, like that kind of slam core, you know, like, but if it wasn't for that one part and that one Suffocation song, like that style of death metal really wouldn't have gone to where it did there for a while. Yeah.
So I agree. So they were creating genres when they didn't even know it.
When they weren't even trying. I love Effigy of the Forgotten. Pierce from Within. Talk about some badass bass right there. Yeah, yeah. That's a great death metal bass album. And Despise the Sun is probably one of my favorite death metal EPs. You know, you got Dave Colross on the drums, and it's just a perfect little package, man.
Yeah. Even their later material, I mean, everything they've come out with is incredible.
Soul to
Deny.
I
started with their self-titled that came out in maybe 2008.
Yeah.
I think their self-titled came out with. I think that's where I started, and I was like, this is insane.
They had an unfortunate trend of like being on a bill, but for whatever reason, by the time they got to Chicago, they didn't show up. I was like, damn it, come on, Suffocation. But something happened. I don't know if there was like problems with Frank or whatever, but there was like 4 or 5 different shows. Like I remember throughout the years, and Suffo didn't show up. Like, come on. But yeah, they're great, man. Yeah. Shout out to Suffocation. And like you said, finish up with a death metal Dying Fetus, man. What do you have to say about Dying Fetus?
They're just insane, you know what I mean? Especially when they moved from 4-piece to 3-piece was probably the craziest thing I've seen. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I was watching the music, you hear the music and you're like, wow, that's incredible. And you watch a music video and you see the dude playing, you know what I mean, bass singing, the guitar is singing, and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, for a 3-piece, they're pulling off some crazy shit. They were one of my favorites too. when death metal came into my life, Grotesque Impalement and Killing on Adrenaline and Destroy the Opposition. That it was all like late 90s, early 2000s. And I got to see him at, was Riley's Rock House, and maybe, what was the other place? We always talk about it. Help me out, Stretton. In Chicago.
Reggie.
Not Reggie's.
You just said Reggie's.
The bowling alley.
Fireside.
Thank you. I think I saw him there too, but Dying Fetus, they were ahead of their time, and then they broke away. Like Kevin Talley was the drummer, and then Netherton left and created Misery Index. So they're one of the definitely like huge death metal staples in my life. And the stuff that they keep putting out, like you said, with this newer lineup.
It's still incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's good shit. And I got to see them last year at Dark Lord Day, and they were great.
Nice.
Them with Pig Destroyer. So that Dark Lord stuff's coming out pretty soon. But yeah, man. And one last thing, we're just gonna move right into. I know you're into skateboarding, skateboard culture, and with that, sneaker culture is pretty big too, man. So So how'd you get into sneakers, and do you have a shitload, or what's going on? You got a pretty big collection.
Really, just growing up, and I think it was just that era of me growing up. You know what I mean? In the early 2000s, skating, everybody just started skating expensive sneakers. You know what I mean? Not Jordans and stuff like people do now, but you know what I mean? Osiris D3s, when they first came out, were over $100, which was unseen for skateboard shoes. You know, everybody wanted $20 skateboard shoes to just ruin, and I think it kind of took off from there. That and the catalogs we would get as kids with the CCS magazines and stuff. You know what I mean? You'd circle all the shoes you'd want, and you'd go crazy. And Mom, this is what I want, and I'm not buying you $200 worth of shoes for you to ruin it in a week.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it started, was really just looking at those magazines and looking at, you know what I mean, a lot of Thrasher and Transworld magazines, seeing these dudes skate in Nike Dunks and Nike Blazers and nice Adidas, the more expensive DCs. I think that's...
Yeah, DCs. I remember Osiris. I remember I had like a bunch of Osiris beanies. There was a place called Warp Sports.
Oh, yeah.
Over on 30. Is it still there?
They've moved around all over. Currently, they're in the Square.
Are they?
Square. Yep.
Okay, cool. Shout out to my buddy Lars Carlson. He worked there forever. So
oh, yeah. Lars.
You know Lars?
Yeah.
All right. Shout out to Lars.
Built my first professional setup for Complete.
Oh, did
when
he?
I was about 12, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
PJ Ladboard and Venture Trucks. I still remember it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Small world. Yeah, I grew up with Lars, but he used to always get me like the fresh gear from there. And I guess I was kind of a poser because I never skated. Sounds like that's exactly what I was. But I was like, oh, let me get that Osiris beanie.
Yeah.
But
you're still supporting the culture in some way.
Right.
So that's fine.
Right. It was like Deftones.
We'll let
still
it slide.
love the Deftones. Yeah, right. But like Chino and all, you know, like Chino from the Deftones.
Oh, yeah.
And all of them had that skater, just the skater vibe and the skater look in the late 90s. What was the other shoes too that was big? Yeah, you said the SB Dunks. How about Vans? I don't really remember Vans that much.
Yeah.
Then
more so with the grunge and punk kids.
Okay.
Still to this day, even I'd say more of the grunge and punk skaters, you know what I mean? Tony Trujillo and those dudes who kind of inspired that whole, I guess you could say, vibe.
Yeah, and Airwalks were big back then too. Did you have a pair of Airwalks, Retton?
No, I did not.
You weren't cool enough?
I had Adidas Sambas.
Oh, okay.
People still skated those even too.
Do they? Or did they?
People would skate whatever
shoes.
they had.
Play soccer, skateboard, mow your lawn. Whatever you want to do.
There you go. Maybe you'll be skating in those.
Yeah, right.
I've outgrown my Sambas.
Yeah.
And Chucks is the universal. Did you ever try to skate in a pair of Chucks?
Yeah. No, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Not enough ankle support.
Yeah, like
I skated
zero?
in some pretty bad shoes when I was younger. You know what I mean? My parents didn't really have that money. They would go to Shoe Carnival and give me K-Swiss for $20 or something. I skated in them, but, you know, they weren't the best.
Right on. Well, Gabe, man, thanks for coming out.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. As far as your bands go, like what's some of the social media sites, or like do you have any plugs, like where people can find you?
Yeah. Penitentiary has an Instagram, Facebook, and a Bandcamp if you want to listen to our music, and we're also on Spotify and iTunes. But I mean, if you're just looking online, Bandcamp, Penitentiary, .com. Or penitentiary.bandcamp.com, sorry.
Okay.
And then same thing with Who's Revolution. We're currently only on Instagram, Facebook, and Bandcamp. Once the EP is released, then we'll probably throw it on Spotify and iTunes. So
cool.
Yeah,
we'll close it out with the Penitentiary track. and Who's the Revolution, because that's with you rapping, right? The whole song.
With the Seizure Hail Mary Pass Plays is just me, by myself.
Yeah.
And then once we get more of the group, so I joined the group actually a little bit after they had already started.
Okay.
So some of the older music is the other MCs that were on it before me, and the current, co-MC with me, and in the future it'll just be me and Gen Ops. So
cool.
Maybe you can get him on here one day.
Yeah,
He's got
man.
A bunch of knowledge on hip hop as well.
Yeah, I got to bring him on. I'd love to have him on. Whoever, man, and we'll keep an eye out for that EP when it drops.
Yeah,
and just let us know, like if you'd be interested in doing some hip hop shows, maybe this way, and
yeah, definitely.
Just keep us up to date, man, and we'll have you back on. So thanks for coming out.
Awesome, I appreciate it, guys.
All right, everybody, please subscribe to Musically Meditated Podcast, especially if you're a first time listener. We're available on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. Where else, Retton?
Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio,
Google.
YouTube, all the Google apps, all the Android apps. Yeah, that's it.
Everywhere.
It's like if you hit the Google Play stuff, that's another 100 apps. So
please subscribe.
Hard to list.
Yeah, subscribe and share this, and we want to start competing with the other music podcasts, and we're trying to get there. But it helps.
The only way is with your help.
With your help, so
There's no other way.
Please subscribe. But yeah, man, Gabe, once again, thanks again, dude.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, anytime.
All right. Adios.
Bed. You can go back to bed, but I know I'm going. Where? I said.
Residents of selfishness suffer the consequence. If you ever forsake this by jumping shit to fake shit, this is blood from paradise. Without the weight from snakes and parasites, the perfect place to lose your life. We stick tight to those bring back to fight. This was a state of mind. Yeah, united we're strong with the ring combined. Hey, go, on. No, we're not alone. Make this hell our own. Make this hell our own to stay. Make friends with grief and misery. Loyalty to those who bring solace in tragedy. My friends, my family, they made the world tell me. Fuck you, it's all for us. I would give my life and it's still ain't enough. I will never turn my back on you. My heart breaks cold and through. And the end of the storm burns bright. Fuck you if you ain't know what to want now. Don't you ever forsake this by jumping shit to fake shit. Hickory Street, 148, Northampton Bay. Alright then, take the life away. Listen to the king, listen now you're on your way. Oh, we set the top for you fool. We're never left alone. We
like everything is going wrong. All day long I've wondered, there must be something I can do to help the day along. Perhaps a song will do. Well, how does that sound to you?
Who's revolution? Here to stay. The all season. The only bright light I'm close to is on my gas gauges. Past days, my life is like a Hail Mary pass play. Thrown blindly in any direction, each section lacking affection with guilty complexion. Is it my fault? Probably. It's gotta be, cause I'm just another anomaly. It's sad to say this, I'm not a sadist, but when the day shifts, I'll still just play this game of who's to blame. The fact is, this shit will just remain the same, cause it's a cycle of false idols, and I'm in denial that there's any room for survival. Even if there was, I wanna be a part of it. Homicidal and the rifle is a starter kit. I try to keep my fires lit. Go ahead and pick a cross, ready for a martyr's fit. And if it doesn't fit, I'll try to be complacent. Nailed to the T, literally I'll embrace it. When life's hard, try to face it. Keep up my guard to withstand all this fake shit. Never on time, inspired by my lateness. Numbers don't lie, but this road ain't the matrix. I'm going tired as these days get to swallow me whole. It lets me know that we're not in control of our destiny. It's as if life's struggle was built for me, constructed by your demon's hands with scheming plans, while I'm sitting here as the bleeding lamb. Sacrificial evidence. My intelligence is venomous, and that's me being generous. Feeling helplessness, cause they say that this ignorance is excellence. And while they all bask in it, it's listed up in my casket with. And while they all bask in it, it's listed up in my casket with. And while they all bask in it, it's listed up in my casket with. And while they all bask in it, it's listed up in my casket with. The more you age, the more responsibilities. Trying to hustle some change just to pay utilities. They said the world's lost empathy. The devil opened the door for me, at least we got chivalry. Every day I try to cope, but it's hard when they hope. I choked on the lines that I wrote. It's the problems I should cloak. Chris Kyle will give me props on my mind's narrow scope. I got to stay active and requested the news, playing some new scare tactics. Cause the current ones are stagnant. Disease, famine, and war, how boring, thought we went way past that. And if not, it's all good, it's okay. I didn't wanna worry about living today. Nah, let's dwell in the past. Let the stress build till we're mentally harassed. Yeah, we do it all without a grasp. With our problems we don't really have. It's kinda hard to stand without a spine, without a source of light. It's really hard to shine. Oh, the world is yours, I wonder what's mine. I'm not a beggar, but I think I'll do quite fine. You never know what you might find. I'm digging for treasure, but accidentally hit a pipeline. Hopefully it's oil. Nope. Another septic line.
Producer my ass over there.